Hey there guys, I'm SonicGhost, and today we are here to unbox a PC gaming handheld known as the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck originally released in February 25th of 2022 with the LCD model, and then later got a refresh with an OLED model in November 16th of 2023. The Steam Deck has been and continues to be, at the time of filming this video in 2025, the most popular gaming PC handheld on the market. This device is a very versatile device that took the world by storm when it first came out in 2022. So I'm very excited to be taking a look at the Steam Deck here today. And before we continue on, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the person who helped get me a Steam Deck here. I want to thank my mother, as during this latest autumn sale for Steam, they had a pretty big sale on all their games as normal, but Steam Decks were also on sale at the time. So we got ourselves a Steam Deck here. I have the LCD model as a birthday gift actually, so thank you once again to my mother for helping me get the Steam Deck that we're going to be seeing today in this set unboxing video. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the device itself. So as you can see here, it just comes in a standard shipping box, and you have all of Valve related icons down here, which I do find to be pretty funny because they are trying to tell people here's what the device is, but also here's some of the hazards to be worried about, like it is fragile, don't put a magnet near it, don't get it wet, but it will be your companion cube if you teach this thing love and respect. So just a nice little Valve charm that you get on a lot of Valve products, which I always enjoy to see. But as I said, this is just a standard shipping box, so I took the liberty of hiding all of the personal information on here, so your Steam Deck doesn't come with random bags on top of the box. That is done for my own privacy, because on the top here, just be your address. On the side here is your serial model number stuff, so I don't want any of that revealed. But other than that, this is a pretty bare bones box. Nothing really too special. You got your battery warning on the back, so nothing really that crazy. I already took the liberty of cutting open the tape, so at this point, we can just open up the box itself and reveal a whole bunch of words in all the languages that you can think of. But also right on top, we have an attention little flyer here, which tells you how to set up your Steam Deck for the first time. For one, you plug it in with power, and then you power it on with the power button. It's as simple as that. So right away, got ourselves a little instruction thing right on top. But more importantly, once you open the box, there is the Steam Deck along with its charger. So I'm going to immediately take out this piece first, so we can get to the goods in just a moment. But here is your Steam Deck power adapter. So you can see exactly that, oh yeah, this is just your standard old power brick, and it does have a seal here right on the top. So just go ahead and break that said seal. Now we can open up the box, just like so, and inside is your power brick here, which is just your standard old power brick, nothing really too fancy. It does have a USB-C plug on the end, as everything you're going to be plugging into the Steam Deck revolves around USB-C, which we'll get into that later. But here it is. You can take a look a little bit closer here. So here's what the side of the power adapter looks like here for the Steam Deck. This device takes up to 45 watts of power, so you don't have to use the included power brick with your Steam Deck, but here are the provided specs if you're going to be using any other power adapter with the said device. But it is still recommended to use this said device with the Steam Deck whenever you do need to charge it. And since I have the North American model, these are the specs for the North American power brick. But now we take a look at the said power here. The only information that's in this little box is there is a little health and safety manual here that you get for pretty much any device, telling you all the health and safety information you need to know about the product you purchase. So typical information there, nothing really too important for us to be focusing on here in this said video. So that is what you get here. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the Steam Deck itself. So this is the device. Your games are going places, as this is a portable gaming handheld computer. You can do pretty much whatever you want. So I want to go ahead and take this right out. Just lift the flap here and slide it right out of the said bag. And here it is. So we don't really need this little flap on here, but just some more health and safety things on the back, some standard legal messages that pretty much every product comes with, but you don't need to focus on any of that. Let's get this little sleeve off, and here it is. This is our Steam Deck inside of this carrying case. Every single Steam Deck model comes with its own hard shell carry case, which this is really, really nice to see, because with pretty much every other handheld I have ever owned, I've always had to buy one of these cases separate. So for the Steam Deck just to come with its own carrying case, this is really nice, and it feels like a very high quality carrying case too. It's got a little flap here, so you can probably attach this to like a side of a bag loop, for example. It's got a handlebar right here, so you can easily carry the device. This feels really nice and rugged. So this is definitely something I'll be using a lot with my said Steam Deck. But right here, we got ourselves one little problem that we have to deal with before we get inside of the actual Steam Deck itself. A little bit of a lock, so you keep the zippers intact. That's right there just to make sure you're getting a brand new product. So let's go ahead and get this little tag off so we can open up our Steam Deck. There we go. The little protective seal is now off, so that can just go away. Now let's go ahead and unzip the case to reveal inside the Steam Deck itself. Ooh, that's a nice looking system. Before I actually look at the system, I want to take a look at the rest of the internals here of the case. As you can see, it's molded out to fit the Steam Deck exactly here. So this has a perfect fit inside the case. Nice mesh material on the inside so it won't scratch up the screen or anything. Nice and solid material, so that's going to really help in case you have an impact with the device, whether you say you drop it in the case or you're putting it in a bag and then something else is pushing against the case itself. So this feels like a very, very solid case, and it's very easy just to put the system in there and then you're off to gaming. So really nice quality case. But now let's go ahead and put the case aside and look at the Steam Deck itself. This is a pretty big system here, but it also is a very comfortable feeling system on first impressions here. On the bottom you have these curvatures on the system itself, which makes it very easy to hold. Not just dimension, but the stick layout here feels very, very comfortable in the hands. The buttons feel very easy to get to. Nice texture on them. You got these two trackpads here underneath both of the analog sticks, which can be used for mouse control, which is good because, as I keep on mentioning, this is a computer at heart, so there is a gaming interface on the Steam Deck, so you can just play your games immediately on the device, but this does run a flavor of Linux, and there is a whole desktop environment that you can use, and you can just use this thing like any other computer. So it's very important to have trackpads like these for mouse control, whether it be in your games or just in your desktop environment as well. Got a Steam button down here, and also we got these little 3 button little icon here on the said button. which from my understanding, this is supposed to open a extra menu inside the Steam Deck, which allows you to control more of the Steam Deck preferences, like its power output, frame rate limiter, stuff like that. You get the speakers right here, and this is the LCD model. So this is the LCD screen. It's 7 inches wide. It is a 720p screen, but the resolution is a 16 by 10. So this is 1200, or no, it's 1280 by 800p. So this is 720p, just a little bit higher, which is very interesting. Take a look at the back of the device. You got your grill right here, so this is where ventilation can go. Nice for air to come in and out of the system. You got extra buttons on the back as well. So these can be used as extra buttons for your games, some extra programmable things, and they are very easy to get to here on the bottom of the device. Feeling very comfortable. You're always going to reach around with your bottom fingers, so that feels nice. On the top here, got yet another ventilation grill. There is your USB-C port. This is the only USB-C on the device, which this is really the only negative I can really say so far about the device, because you can't plug in your power adapter here, for example, and then use your Steam Deck with other devices at the same time. You're going to need another device that has multiple ports and have power delivery so you can use more things while charging your Steam Deck at the same time. But there is an official dock for the Steam Deck that Valve sells, and there are plenty of... I don't think Mother Nature wants me to say third-party docks, but there are third-party options. Maybe consider them. That was fun. So there are third-party docks you can use with the Steam Deck. There's an official first-party dock, and this will allow you to use the system on the display and connect multiple devices at the same time to the Steam Deck, and you just connect it with this single USB-C on the top. Here you got your power button, which we'll press that here in a minute. Obviously it turns on and off the system. You got a headphone jack, volume buttons, triggers here on tops. We flip it around to the bottom. Nothing really here on the bottom of the Steam Deck except for this one thing, which is a micro SD card slot on the device. So this takes micro SD cards for extra storage, as inside this device, since I have the LCD model, it's a 256 gigabyte SSD, but I do have an extra 400 gigabyte micro SD card, that I'm not using anymore. So I can easily plop it into here and combine it with the 256 gigs of storage with the device, and that gives me more than enough storage space. But let's go ahead and actually turn on this system. Now, maybe that's why the instructions say number 1. You should probably plug it in, because out of the factory, it doesn't really have any power. So give me a moment. Okay, so I got the power cord plugged in here. So we're going to plug this in, but I'm going to see how much charge this really has after we do plug in this USB adapter, because as of right now, it is kind of stormy in the area, so I don't want to leave this thing plugged in for long. So once you get power to the device, you can see a white LED right next to the power button. So now let's go ahead and turn this device on. Oh, saw the Steam Deck logo there for a second. Probably held the power button for a little too long. There it is. There's the Steam Deck logo. Let me just go ahead. I see a spot on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and clean that right off. There we go. And now the device is booting up. So I do have to go to a first time setup on here, which I'm not going to be looking at the whole Steam Deck interface and all that. I do want to make a follow-up video talking about my first impressions with the device at a later date. So for right now, we're just taking a quick look at the device just right out of the box. So first boot does take a while, I've noticed, and while it's doing that, I do want to compare this device here with a Nintendo Switch. This is a launch model Nintendo Switch, so this is an LCD model, and I can turn on this screen after we take a look at the Steam Deck, apparently, as it woke up. So there you go. This is the Steam Deck interface. I do see it does have a good amount of charge, so now if I can take off the power brick, Hey, there you go. It just needs that power on first boot to turn on. After that, you're good to go. So now we can take a look at these two side by side, and you can see the Steam Deck is a lot bigger compared to the original Nintendo Switch here. And I can go ahead and turn this system on so you can see its screen in comparison to the Steam Deck, as these are both LCD screens. And yeah, there's a pretty noticeable difference here, as the Nintendo Switch's screen isn't quite 7 inches, so it is slightly smaller compared to the said Steam Deck. It's a little more in line, I would say, with the Switch OLED actually here in terms of overall screen size. As you can see, very, very similar. And one final comparison here, I have a Nintendo Switch 2 also off to my side. So if I can go ahead and turn that on, here they are side by side. The Switch 2 does have a bigger screen. This is also a little bit of a better screen as well, as this can do HDR. It has variable refresh rate support. It is 120 FPS, so it is a lot smoother for games that support it. This panel on the LCD Steam Deck model, this is only a 60 Hz refresh screen, and it does not support HDR. But honestly, for the games you're going to want to be playing on a device like the Steam Deck, the higher refresh rate doesn't really matter, at least in my opinion, too much. If you get the Steam Deck OLED model, that can do up to 90 Hz refresh, so you get a little bit of a smoother screen. And the OLED model also supports HDR. HDR in gaming, just in general, is kind of a hot mess. No different on the Steam Deck from what I understand. So it may not be a feature a lot of people would want to use. It really just depends on its overall support in games. But just to compare, this is the Switch 2 to the Steam Deck. And again, you can see that level of chunkiness between the two systems here. You can see just how different the Switch 2 to the Steam Deck is. And I think the Switch 2 is a better compare system compared to the original Switches to a device like the Steam Deck due to its bigger size. And nowadays, a lot of people are going to be comparing the Steam Deck to a Switch 2 in terms of its overall performance and library. But this system does feel very nice in the hands. It feels very, very robust feeling. And if you just want to go ahead, turn it off, just hit that power button to put it to sleep, and there you go. So that is the Steam Deck for you. All right, so I just finished setting up my Steam Deck not too long ago, and now we're in the actual interface of the Steam Deck itself. And let me just say, setting up the Steam Deck was an interesting experience, to say the least. Why must fate hit me with the jank? What do you mean update error happened? I mean, to be fair, there was a bad Steam outage yesterday at the time of recording this video that lasted for many, many hours. And I think the remnants of that outage are still happening now. Oh, those are words we like to see.
Many, many minutes later.
I'm in the same room with my router, by the way, too, so this is definitely just a side effect of yesterday's Steam outage. Hit the back button, pick your Wi-Fi again, it'll update, you can be set up. Updates don't take more than a minute or two. That's what I figured. So, essentially, this thing is in yet another boot loop. Wow, that Steam outage yesterday is really messing things up. Oh, yep, there it is. This is the second time I've backed out and gone in to get progress. Technology is great. I love when seconds count up and not down, but oh. What do you mean another update? Oh my god. Oh, it's doing a thing. Okay, good. Let's try this again. I really hope this is not another roadblock. Come on. It shouldn't take that long to load my data. Apparently a restart can fix it. Oh, sweet mother of God, we're finally in the Steam UI. Oh, it only took an hour? Oh, it's finally done. This is the Steam button. Nice. This is the quick access button. Yeah, I've been familiar with that one. The power button, very familiar. The volume buttons, very familiar. Micro SD card. And then set up your parental control. Have fun. Yeah, after I got the thing working now, I definitely will. Thank you. But it's all done now. We're here inside of the gaming side of the Steam Deck. So let's just go ahead and take a look at things. Right in the very front, you're going to see your recent library of games that you've played, just like on the Steam client itself. Then you can also go ahead and hold down that Steam button and open up a side menu of different things that you can go ahead and interact with. And you can change a whole bunch of different settings on the device, make it your own. I've already been using the Steam Deck for a few days now, so I got things configured. But let's just go ahead and boot up a game here just to show you how this device can run a game. Because right here you can see on the menu you got multiple different tabs, ranging from games you own on Steam to even non-Steam games that you can add in the desktop interface. But there is a tab specifically that is just for games that are verified to run on the Steam Deck with no real issues. So if a game is marked for great on deck in the Steam Deck interface, then that's going to mean it's going to play perfectly fine on the device itself. So we can pick a game from this library here and just decide, I'm in the mood for playing something like, you know what? How about some good old Celeste? So I can go ahead, hit install, and it can prompt you right here if you want to install to the internal drive, which I have the LCD Steam Deck here, so it's a total of 256 gigs on SSD. Or I can select a micro SD card, and I inserted a 400 gig micro SD card, so I can install to that, but I'm just going to pick the internal drive. Then the download starts up here in the corner. You just go ahead and tap that icon, and you can see game is downloading just fine. And it's installing right now on the Steam Deck to use. And once it's done, then I can just play the game just like it would be on your average computer. And it has the same exact interface as the Steam client does nowadays on the desktop itself. So I'm very familiar with this newer Steam Big Picture mode. It's something we've been using for a couple years now. But now the game's done, I hit play, boots up the game, tells you your interface of controls. And from there, we are now booting into Celeste for the first time on the Steam Deck. And there you go. Works perfectly fine. We can up our volume here so we can hear the game. And there you go. We can go ahead, also turn back down that volume, hit these three little dots right below the right trackpad, and then we bring up a quick setting menu here. We can adjust the brightness of the device itself, make it brighter or dimmer. Same for the audio. And also this does have a microphone included, so we can adjust the microphone audio, turn on and off airplane mode, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all that kind of stuff. There's even a performance mode here. We can actually change very specific settings, including things like we can give it a TDP limit. So this is just how much power the Steam Deck will use. At most, it can pull up to 15 watts, and you can bring it all the way down to 3. So if you really wanted to get the most out of the battery life, you can go ahead and mess with these settings. And if a game isn't running as well as you would like, you can enable a manual GPU clock to make it run as fast as you want, or as slow as 200 megahertz. So you can make games run a little bit better on the device, or reduce the performance on an easier to run game to maximize your overall battery. And you can use per game profiles or just have this set as a global thing for the entire Steam Deck. There's performance overlays, so you can just have any kind of performance metrics on screen so you can get a good idea of how the game is running and how your Steam Deck is performing. my favorite menu here is Performance Overlay number 3, as it shows you all the performance you'll ever need on your Steam Deck: GPU, CPU performance, temperatures, frame time graph. If you played any games on PC before and have used a software on Windows called MSI Afterburner, this is a very similar setup with its overlay. It's a very useful tool to have. And yeah, the game just works perfectly fine. I can just jump in, play around, no issues here. All the controls work perfectly, and if they don't, people have made profiles that you can go ahead and download on the Steam Deck itself to use different profiles for different kinds of games. So if you're having any problems with the controls on your Steam Deck, it's very easy to remap things. And again, this is all very similar stuff I experienced for years with Steam on Windows and even Linux machines. So this is pretty much a very, very useful interface that's perfect for things on the go. And anytime you want to quit, you can just go into your Steam menu, hit quit on the game, and it brings you right back to the main menu. But you can also go down here to the power options, and you can switch this to the desktop environment. And now you can use your Steam Deck just like a computer. So it reboots itself now into a desktop environment here. And this desktop environment was made specifically for the Steam Deck in mind. So it already had some stuff pre-installed, like Steam itself, obviously. Also had another browser on here, Firefox, but you can install your own stuff, like I installed Google Chrome, because you can just go into the Software Center to Discover and just install whatever you want and use this thing, like I said before, just like an actual computer, because a lot of software here just works on Linux, and it translates really well to the Steam Deck. As you can see here, this right side acts as a trackpad. The left side here is a scroll wheel, which, funny enough, you gotta move your fingers in clockwise and counterclockwise directions here to actually move the scroll wheel, which is interesting to say the least. Yeah, let's just close out of there, and let's just go ahead and load up a YouTube video here just to demonstrate just how this device works as a computer. And I can go ahead and move around the touchpad stuff here, or I can use D-pad, analog stick to move around. But also, this does just have a touchscreen. So I can just tap away, search for what I want here, remove the keyboard here at any given time, and now there's the YouTube channel. We can just load that right up, and then we can just watch anything here on YouTube. That's it, the page loads.
Hey there guys, I'm SonicGhost and welcome to my YouTube channel.
And there you go. It's working perfectly fine. Video's playing, no issues. Able to watch it in full screen. So you can do pretty much whatever you would want here in the Linux desktop environment, because this is essentially just a computer, but with a controller attached to it. So lots of things you can do here in the Linux desktop environment. Lots of cool stuff that you can do with the gaming mode in Steam. And anytime you want to return, there's just an icon here on the desktop, return to gaming mode. Just double click that with your mouse, and it will reboot the Steam Deck out of its desktop environment and right back into its gaming mode, which is the big picture mode in Steam. So yeah, that's the Steam Deck for you in terms of its interface. Again, I've used this for a couple days now, so I've got a feel of how the Steam Deck works, and it's a very, very versatile device. It's been a lot of fun to use so far, but with that said, let's go ahead and wrap up this set unboxing video. But there you have it. That was my unboxing of the Steam Deck and a little bit of a tour of the gaming interface along with the desktop interface on the said device. I'm very excited to put this Steam Deck through its paces and get to see what kind of games I can play on this thing on the go, and also what kind of work I can do on this device, since it is a computer at the end of the day. So I'm going to go ahead at this point and get some more games installed on the Steam Deck and really put this device through its paces. I'll be making a follow-up video in the future talking about my more in-depth opinions on how to use the said Steam Deck and how it works for my day-to-day use. So check out that video once it's live in the future. But that's going to conclude it for today's unboxing. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.